Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up. We'll start our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin Road and Highway 77. High today, 89, low 76, and water temperature is 82, so it dropped to 1 or 2 degrees, but 82 is still a great condition for the water temperature. Take a look at our tide chart. Let's river readings first, I'm sorry. Let's look at the river readings. They're in good shape, folks. I was on the river, and I had a great time. Apalachicola is at 5 foot. It's just dropping on out. It's in really good shape. It's just beautiful down there. Okay, the Choctawhatchee at Carabelle. All this rain we've been getting, they're going up a little bit now. It's at 7 foot. Going to Thursday be at 7.5, and by the weekend it may be 11.5, around 7 or 8. Okay, now let's take a look at our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Today is Wednesday, June the 25th, and the tide chart is showing it's a really good strong tide the next 3 or 4 days. We've got a high tide at 9:05 and a low tide at 9:05 this morning, and a low tide at 8:04 this afternoon or this evening, and it got a good 1.8 foot movement on it. So really good strong tides. Our marine forecast west southwest at about 7 or 8 miles per hour. Take a second to want to wish my lovely wife a very happy birthday today. Gail is today she just turned 39 years old, and she's been a wonderful wife, and we really have had a great time. And I just wanted she gets embarrassed every time I do something like this, so I know she's embarrassed, but really would not have Panhandle Outdoors if it would not be for Gail and all the things she does to help us and all. Just want to wish her we're going to have a great time today. We're going to go out to eat and have parties and all, so all kind of fun things. A happy birthday, sweetheart. All right, we'll take this break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, and always welcome Captain Ken Paramore.
Good morning.
Glad
to be back.
Ken,
Glad
great
to be back.
have you. We always got so much to talk about. Always run out of time before we get it all covered. So
And a month goes by pretty fast too.
I know. It just seemed like you were here yesterday.
I know.
Well, let's get started. The big thing, the big news now this weekend, scallop season.
Scallop season is upon us.
Are you guys going to be? They're going to be hustling.
Yeah, my Gulf County officers, they're going to be wide open for the next 3 or 4 months, to include the 4th of July weekend, which is right around the corner, and the St. Joe Bay area with all the, the boating and the scalloping that's going to be going on. Just want to remind people real quick, the scallop season opens Saturday the 28th, which is this coming Saturday, and it has been moved up a few days.
Yeah.
We talked about it last month a little bit, to give people the opportunity. Normally and historically, scallop season opened on July the 1st, and forever, and it didn't matter what day of the week that fell on.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, I think next week is when it would open, the middle of the week. So the commission decided to give people more opportunity. A few days is not going to make much difference one way or the other, so we moved it up to include the weekend prior to July 1.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say in years upcoming that, if July 1st falls on a Saturday, we could be back to July 1st.
Right.
But in this instance, it made sense to open it just a few days earlier. So scallop will be open this Saturday, the 28th. And just want to remind people about the safety, the boating safety that comes with the scalloping and having a good time and recreating, and we don't want anything to turn tragic, to ruin a good family outing and have something happen on the bay. So safety goes with it, if not is more paramount during that time, because of the amount of people that are usually on the bay scalloping. And a lot of people on the bay scalloping have their heads down, except for the people who remain in the boat.
You're never aware, really. I mean, you might hear a boat come by fast, but you're really not, because you're focusing on stuff in front of you. You got your head face down and all.
And it's really key, that the divers stay close to the boats, and it's really key that the boats display the dive flags. And the third thing, it's really key that the vessels operating near those boats with people in dive flags stay at idle if they're within, 100 feet of them.
And I see what happens is so many people out there, and those rules are so important. We're talking about this every year. How far away should they get away? Can they get away from the boat?
There's no restriction on how far they can get away. They can pull up to your boat.
Okay.
So when you display a dive flag, it's not a no entry zone.
Okay.
It's not.
Right.
You're not claiming your perimeter per se.
Yeah.
What they do have to do if they're within, and I said 100 a minute ago, I think it's 300.
Yeah.
What they do have to do is come to idle speed when they're within that distance around a boat that's displaying, or a diver that's snorkeling and pulling a flag with him. They have to, either try to avoid or come, down to idle if they have to come within that area. But, we've had it said before, asked that I put my flag up and the boat came inside there. Well, you don't designate that spot, but it does create the awareness and responsibility on the other boater that people are in the water and he needs to use extreme caution, and courtesy is, obviously you don't do that, but there's no prohibition on entering. It's just how you enter and how you operate once you enter that distance. Obviously, life jackets to and from, one for everybody in the boat. The kids under 6 need to be wearing them until the boat is anchored. Mm-hmm. If the boat is adrift or moving, the kids under 6 have to be wearing them. And just safe operation. As you know more than anybody, being down there and seeing it every year. It's hard to believe that we still have a society where people operate some boats in the manner that they do.
I know, and I think about this, and I see it, like I say, every year, and I often think about it and try to reflect on it. The vast majority of the folks out there are trying to behave and try to...
Absolutely.
And then there's some of them that, I think some of them are ignorant of the law, and also I think they don't understand how fast, there's a lot of people on freshwater with big bass boats and all, used to go all the time, and then they get out there, and they don't really understand the laws until they get there. I don't think any of it's deliberate. I've never seen anybody deliberately try to do anything, but it's just ignorance of the how to behave.
And not being familiar with, some people haven't operated a boat since last July.
That's right.
So, and here it is that's opening, and here they go, and they forget about, the safety and and all the things that go with it. But, and you are right, the majority behave, and for the amount of people that use that bay, for the amount of problems that we normally have is minimal. So that's obvious that most do and are conscious of, because there's families on the water, there's kids on the water, and it is important, and most understand that. It's
but each year I see a couple of them just fly through those channels, and I'm amazed.
I know.
It's amazing. Now, one more time, the distance they can be from a diving flag on the boat.
I'm going to check again pretty quick during the break.
All right.
But I believe it's 300 feet.
300 feet. About I always use a football field, about length like that. And sometimes you don't realize you're getting out of it. You start going and then look up.
And it's hard to measure distance while you're on the water, so it's just
stay close.
Yeah, it's just a good guess.
All right, let's take this break right here. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Today with Captain Ken Paramore to cover scalloping. I'm going to cover some more scalloping tomorrow, but let's get into some snapper, and we're going to talk about snapper. But before we get into it, let's look at this picture here, Ken. Tell us about this one.
She put it on me that day. We went last Friday. It was really calm, and I took the day off, and my wife hasn't gone in 2 years. And we went, and she caught that one there. Was 26 inches in state waters, not too bad.
That is a nice red snapper right
fish.
there. And listen, the water looked real nice. About 2 foot seas. Was that what it was?
It was less.
Less than one.
It was about a foot.
Yeah.
It was one of those days when you wake up and you think, man, I really don't want to go to work today. It's a good fishing day, and I don't like to go when it's bumpy, and neither does she. So we had the opportunity, and we took our daughter-in-law with us, and so the three of us went out and fished some state waters, had a good time. We caught a bunch of undersized fish.
Yeah.
We managed to keep 3 decent 19-plus inch fish, and that one was 26. So overall, a good day. Hooked a few grouper that took us into a hole and cut us off, and so you pretty well knew it was a grouper when that happened. Threw back some triggerfish because they're closed.
Yeah.
And a bunch of undersized amberjack. So it was a good day all over.
I think we fished like a day or two before that, and we had about the same result, same kind of,
Right.
grouper and then amberjack and triggerfish.
You feel kind of limited because you have to stay in there, but you can bounce around to some spots. Even public spots got fish on them.
That's right.
But I do want to remind people while we're talking about marine fish is the seasons. The seasons are convoluted and they overlap somewhat. Some are closed, some are open. But real quick, as everybody knows, snapper is closed in federal waters and will remain closed as far as we know until next June, hopefully. But it is open in state waters, and that'll run through July 14th. Right now, gag grouper and triggerfish are closed. Gag will open July 1. So we will have about 2 weeks of snapper, and then gag will be open so people can fish for snapper in state waters, and then obviously grouper as well. A lot of times you try to go grouper fishing and you can't get past the snapper.
That's true.
So amberjack will be closed through July 31 as well as trigger. So upcoming, what we'll have overlapping will be gag and red snapper until the 14th of July when red snapper closes. People are still catching fish in state waters, and decent fish.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a testament to we don't feel we have a shortage of red snapper. We do feel like our areas in state waters got pretty well hammered, between the time that it opened and by the time it's over, because obviously when you put a lot of pressure on those sites and people catching, even if they remain within their limits, people have fished a lot and now they're forced to fish in certain areas. So I'm sure those those state spots have been hit and fished pretty hard.
Yeah.
But we have done a lot of enforcement, not more than we ever have, but we've done and stepped it up in state waters this year because of the increased pressure and the early opening that we had. So we had boats in from other parts of the state, and we had a lot of overtime was used. So we did do a lot of state water patrols, and a lot of guys ran the line, between the state and federal when federal was closed.
That's how y'all do it. Y'all just sort of run the line. I guess with electronics way already. Y'all can pretty well be
That's
right
a
on
good
that.
place that a lot of the guys like to work, and that way they can kind of go either way. And if they see someone in federal waters, they can deal with that when it's closed. And then during that 9 days of federal, they went everywhere. So we had guys all over the ocean. Matter of fact, some of them went 60 miles off and worked it. So that closed area, that Madison Swanson area down off of, it's southeast of here, and then it's it's due south of the Carabel area.
That is a huge area.
Right, it's huge, and
actually, do you have much trouble with people trying to? Do you really?
They caught a boat in there, and about 3 miles in there, and the boat, load of fish, and they kind of tried to act like they didn't know where they were, but.
Well, with electronics, the advancements of electronics.
Right.
There's just no way. Back in the days when they're using handheld, I mean, just a.
And it's kind of obvious too when there's no other boats in there but you, and everybody else is several miles away. But we worked it pretty hard. There was some cases made. But anyway, that's the marine season deal is kind of convoluted, and I do encourage people, if they're going to go, is to get our regulations and read up on them, and or call our offices, particularly prior to a trip, to make sure we got people that man the phones all the time, and I'd be glad to give them the information.
Now let me ask you this, and I know you don't know the answer, but fall snapper season, is there any possible way that you think there might be a fall snapper season?
I've not heard of one. Yeah. I can tell you that what we've heard is the assessment, or the stock assessment, or the harvest assessment, if you will be compiled sometime in August, or by August.
Okay.
There's some people that are thinking that we're going to have exceeded the quota during the 9 days and in the time that we've been open, which is going to affect not only a fall season, but possibly the season next year. And however their stock assessment is done, it's being compiled, I guess, as we speak, if you will, and that should be released or known, I've heard, mid to late August, and then everything else depends on that in the in the future. Okay. So whether there is one or not, if it comes back and it's that the fishermen didn't exceed the quota, then it's a possibility. If it's that we exceeded the quota, it's going to not only affect anything in the fall, but it'll be affecting next summer as well.
Well, that don't sound good. If we exceeded.
No, it's a distinct possibility. Most people think it was exceeded or will be exceeded. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take this final break, and we'll be right back with Ken. All right, welcome back. Today with Captain Ken Paramore of the Fish and Wildlife Commission. Let's go back to our board over here. Look at our fish and game forecast today. Only one time it's in the middle of the day, which is really a good time because we've been having rain in the morning and rain in the afternoon. So if you get a window of time from 11:26 to 1:26, that's brought to us by Mark Cowart of Edgewater Beach Realty. Okay, and Ken was nice enough to bring me some hunting regulations, the new books, Ken. So this is one on hunting right here, and they can be picked up at a tax collector's office or
tax collector's office. Your bait and tackle stores, sporting goods stores, our regional offices. That's the new 14-15 hunting.
They got a big old gobbler on it.
Yep, pretty.
All right, and then also the freshwater.
Freshwater is out as well. We are waiting on the saltwater. I don't have new saltwater yet. Haven't received them at the office. Hasn't been a whole lot of saltwater changes, but the saltwater's not out yet.
Well, they probably not sure themselves, having to double check. I'm telling you, to keep up with these dates is just unreal.
They're still packaging the lawyers to go inside the books that come with them.
You used the term earlier about convoluted dates, and you're exactly right.
Yeah, it's really it's imperative that people keep up with the seasons and the limits and all, because it's an ever-changing deal, and we get accused of making them that way just to make it difficult. And it all has to do with management and sustained yield and maintaining what we have for futures. So, but saltwater's not out yet.
Okay.
Bass. Let's talk freshwater real quick. There is a proposed bass regulation change that's in its infancy. It's in the public input phase. You can go to myfwc.com and take a survey, leave your opinion about this, and I'll tell briefly about it. But if you go to myfwc.com, we are proposing, or it is being proposed, that with bass regulation, we keep it a 5-fish bag limit, but we reduce the size of the largest fish you can keep in that bag, which currently is 22 inches. So right now you can have 5 fish, one of which can be over 22 inches. And they're talking about reducing that to 16 inches.
Okay.
So you could have, 5 fish less than 16 if this passes, and if it passes muster with the commission and the public is for it. Most inclinations are that most bass fishermen and all, there's only like 16% of bass fishermen or people who fish for bass keep them to eat.
Is that what the stats are now? 16%.
Yeah, that keep them to eat.
You got to give bass fishermen the credit way back. Right. They're the first guys that started catching and releasing. First guys and girls started catching and releasing, and it went on into redfish and other fish after that.
And so if we reduce to 16 inches, one fish over 16, that's your breeding fish that are bigger, those 22-inch fish. Yeah. And the idea is to build a sustained population to get the fish to trophy status. And it may or may not get anywhere, but that's the proposal, is to reduce that one fish maximum from 22 inches to 16 inches. Mm-hmm. And it's got several months to go through that process and then a commission meeting or two. So that's just in the wind. Anybody interested, just go check out our web pages or call our offices, and we'll steer you in the right direction on how you can do your research and then form your opinion and go and give your input or go to some of our commission meetings.
Okay. And then you always have you got something?
I do have a case a month if we have time.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Real quick, a lot of people are freshwater fishing, and some people are prone to keep too many freshwater fish, particularly when they're brim fishing.
Yeah.
And when they're biting, they just start filling up the cooler. Well, the other day, Officer Arnie McMillan in Weewa, he pulled up to Saul's Creek boat ramp, and a couple guys that came into the landing had been fishing from the boat, and he got to talking to them about their fish, and they said they had some fish, and he asked to see them, and the guy opened the cooler in the boat, and it had a lot of brim in there. So he said, well, you know, I need to do a count. So he reached in there, and he knew there's a lot of fish in there. So he started counting, and finally one of the boat occupants, he stated to Arnie, he said, I think I'll save you some time. There's more than 100 in there. and as all you that brimfish know, 50 is the limit on panfish. So he said, well, how many? He said, we're not sure. They were biting, and we kept catching. So ended up having 139 in there.
Whoa.
And so they were almost 20 apiece over.
Wow.
Of what they were allowed to have. So they left there with a couple of tickets for taking over the bag limit of panfish or brim, whichever you want to call it.
And the river's right, they're biting really good now, but
it is. The fishing is good, fresh water.
The thing about it, you could go you could catch 100 and go the next day, and if that's what you want to do.
Right.
And that gets hard to. That's a lot of cleaning.
I don't want to clean that many fish.
I don't want to clean that many either.
I don't want to clean that many fish.
We went. A group of us went. I'm gonna have a video later. We're down to Howard's Creek, and we kept. We actually had 2 boats. We kept about 54, I think, when we threw back a bunch of them.
And once you divide that many up, with,
and we had a couple of guys that been before, and they didn't want to. You get tired of eating them after a while. I mean, and these guys have been going every weekend, so we just kept 54. But that was out of 2 boats.
Nice size.
Good size. That wasn't huge, but what we call good eating size.
Oh yeah.
And
they're good in the pan.
Yeah, I had a great time down there. So. Well, as always, Ken, we appreciate you coming on, and
glad to be here.
And this weekend, scallop season, so y'all,
everybody be careful.
We don't do any double dipping and stuff like that.
4th of July weekend as well. There'll be double the boats on the water from scallops and just your recreational boaters.
Okay. All right, folks. Always thank y'all so much for watching Panhandle Outdoors. We appreciate your viewership. Do something good for someone else, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.